Injuries suck. If you're a person who has spent their life exercising, enjoying contact sports, now combat sports, then you'll understand that injuries come at an expense to the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, 6 weeks ago, I decided that I wanted to start a challenge to defy the Dad Bod, essentially. I have a 3-month-old baby, and in that 3 months, she's been alive and with us. It's been amazing, but I've put a few pounds on, and I wanted to defy that, really. Now, I felt that I was in a good position to do so because we're very lucky to have a very content baby. She sleeps well. She sleeps well now. And week 1, guess what happens? I get injured. But before I get into the story, I want to give you a little bit of a background of my injury history and just also relate this to, we are going to bring breathing into this, how breathing saved me the other day from going into a really panicky position. I honestly thought that I was going to be paralyzed. And yeah, so we're going to integrate some of this stuff in with a bit of story. So I have played sports throughout my life. From the age of 7 years old, I was regularly out playing contact sports, football, rugby, and grew up playing football, rugby, ice hockey. And in my later years got into lifting weights, and more so in the last couple of years have been into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, at 18 years old, I dislocated my left shoulder, had to end up having surgery on that shoulder, and got told that I probably shouldn't play rugby again. And as an 18-year-old, by the time of 20, 21-year-old, you listen to a surgeon. And yeah, that went through a period of life where I was quite depressed for a long period. Being such an active individual, being told you're not allowed to do your sport or unable to do your sport anymore, it has an impact on your mental health. So I got into the gym and started training, and sports and exercise and training for me had always been, I guess it's a way for me to cope, especially when I was younger. I guess being in the home wasn't troubled home, but I didn't like spending time in the home. I liked being out, escaping with my friends and playing out with my friends and playing sport and competing. My way to get out my aggression. And I ended up getting into the gym pretty seriously and training ridiculously, stupidly hard, especially with squats, training my legs. I really wanted to get big legs. I felt like a skinny person. So I used to squat a lot. I used to do ridiculous training sessions. And by the age of 24, 25, I could barely walk because I had what we call a femoral acial impingements in both my hips, where the socket joint was just not big enough for the femur muscle. And I was in so much pain, chronic pain, backs, hips, until I was about 27 when I got into yoga and started to get into breath work and started to look at the relationship between tension, joints, and breathing, and how we can manipulate and open up spaces with our breath when we breathe into that space. That was a term that I never understood until I started yoga. So having hip issues, shoulder issues, continue to train. 10 weeks ago, decided to start this challenge. And I, first week in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, dislocated a rib right at the bottom here, probably the third rib up, just below the floating ribs, where it attaches to the cartilage, popped. Just trying to pass guard, twisted in a motion where I was stuck. Not the most mobile of positions and not the most mobile of people. Just felt something pop and it took me. It took my wind and I couldn't move. I was on the ground for a little while. However, didn't think too much into it. I thought, you know what? Yes, it's just another injury. Let's see what you can do. So starting 10 weeks wasn't great. First week, wasn't able to do any exercise other than just walk. And then we started to notice a bit of progress. And I thought, you know, what I'll do is I'll get back into some training where it's just typical bodybuild training, lifting weights, movements that are not too dynamic, but yeah, lifting stuff, and just watching the diet and doing that and walking. And also I bought myself a Concept 2 erg bike and was on that for 15, 20 minutes a day, every single day, making progress, feeling like I was making some progress in my fitness, and just making progress in my strength as well. Strength was increasing. Anyway, we went down south, which is a 3-hour drive, 3.5, 4-hour drive, just a couple of weeks ago. And on the way back, driving back the following day, I thought, you know what? I haven't trained my legs for a while. I'll go and train my legs. Not really considering if you've just done 4 hours of driving, you're probably not in the best position in terms of your hips and your back to go into squat. But anyway, I did. Great warm up as usual. Get into it, feeling good, feeling strong. I wanted to hit as many sets of 8 I could on the squat. Started at 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150. And 150 was, I was like challenging, but easier than I thought. So I wanted to go 160. And in my mind, I said to myself, Martin, you've done enough. You're going to injure yourself. Then the little other devil on my shoulder said, shut up, Martin. You've got this. As I am going, rep 1, easy, rep 2, easy, rep 3, easy, rep 4, starting to get a little bit tired. Rep 5, I go down, come back up, and I feel a little bit of a jolt. My core relaxes, and I feel my back spasm. I drop the bar off my back, and I'm like, oh, took the wind from me. It wasn't that bad. I actually looked around, and there was a group of guys, jacked up guys, looked like they're on the gear. They're actually laughing at me, which was, I've got to show that I'm not in pain. Anyway, I went and rolled out my glutes I knew that it was going to seize up. And I went and just did some leg extensions, some hamstring curls, and went home and I thought, you know what? That wasn't that bad. Sat down on the sofa, started doing some work. My wife was out with little Annie. And then I tried to get up. And my legs were dead. And I was like, oh, okay, everything is seizing up and I really need to go to the toilet. Anyway, I walked my way to the toilet, but my right leg is really struggling to lift. So I'm dragging it. And I'm thinking, oh, this is getting worse. This is not great. And I get to the toilet and I'm like, no, I can't stand. I'll sit down. Sat down, and then I finish and I try to get up and I struggle. And I'm literally standing up and I'm holding myself up against the wall here because I can't put my leg down. My leg is just not working. And I'm thinking, fuck, I'm stuck. I am stuck in the bathroom and my wife's not here and I don't know what to do anyway. I tried to get back to the sofa, which is 10 meters through the house, and then another probably 10 meters to the sofa, maybe a little bit further. It takes me, I reckon, a good 5 or 10 minutes to get that initial first 10 meters, to our dining area, because I'm holding myself up and I can't move. And I'm afraid to drop down, and I'm just holding down. I hear my wife, and I'm like, my wife's coming. I'm just going to hold myself here until she comes in. And she walks in, and I'm like, shout, Delphine. And she's like, yeah, one sec. And I'm like, okay, I need help. And she's like, yeah, one sec. And I'm like, how long is she going to be? I don't really want to shout. I really need help because she's got a baby in her hands and blah, blah, blah. So she puts the baby down, comes to me. So look, I've injured my back. Can you just help me get to the sofa? So she doesn't know really what to do. I'm 105 kilos. She's not the strongest. She helps me a little bit, and it just takes me a long time to get to the sofa. And we're about 30 centimeters away, and the table's there. And I said, look, I'm going to try and just put myself down. And as I try to put myself down, everything in my back and my glutes just spasms, right? And I just say to my wife, just let go. And I just drop to the floor. And I've never experienced any pain like it in my life. I was so scared. I was fuck, what's going on here? And I just burst out in tears. Honestly, the only thing that did save me was knowing that I need to come to the breath to calm myself down. That I need to just try and breathe and relax. But the pain was so excruciating, and the stress in my body was so elevated that it was just like, just breathe. Obviously, when you're crying, you can't really breathe properly. It was ridiculous. And I was there for, 15, 20 minutes. Every time I tried to move, it just seized up again. I had to breathe through it and relax. And my wife's just, what have you done? And I'm like, it's not that bad, but it's seizing up to protect my back. Anyway, I reckon 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes go by, and I managed to get myself round, get myself into the sofa. And that was me for the next 30 hours, 36 hours. Got onto a consult with a GP just because every time I tried to get up, I just couldn't, legs wouldn't work, back would spaz. I was in so much pain, it was an absolute agony. So I did a little bit of a Googling, and it was like asking to get some muscle relaxants. So I got some muscle relaxants from a doctor. 36 hours later, I'm trying to get up and I'm in so much pain, and it's just taking my breath away. The lesson here is obviously when you have an injury, like the rib, that's going to be connected to your diaphragm, it's going to be connected to your core, to not go and do stupid excessive amounts of training when you're doing that first, and trying to do squats, which requires a lot of core engagement, probably requires your thoracic cage to be in a good position to anyway. But in those situations, to come to your breath. I am now nearly 2 weeks post that. See the chiro, he thinks it's what's called an annular tear in the like an L5 in the lumbar region. When I stood up the following day, no word of a lie, my shoulders were here, my hips were over here. I had this complete hip shift. It was I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, oh my God, my body is curved like this. It was ridiculous. So it's 2 weeks post that, and we are 5 or 6 weeks into the challenge, and I am not defying a dad bod just yet. I've just proven myself to be a dad, making more dad noises, which is funny. I can only laugh. Anyway, we are back to square one. We are back to light stretches, rolling on balls to release myofascia, simply just engaging the core, hip thrusts, diaphragmatic breathing to get that space opening up, to work the core. We are just doing daily basic core movement and opening up the hips and joints. And I guess this was just a document of maybe the journey back. I hope to be back Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 5 weeks. We go over to Bali in the Philippines for a retreat. I want to be fit for then. I'm not going to be fit as in match ready or competition ready or anywhere, but I want to be able to actually just go and roll or train whilst I'm in Bali. So the goal is just to get back to there. Maybe I'll document this if this has been interesting. If you're still watching, drop me a comment, let me know.